Good morning from Wild Wonders Animal Sanctuary, home to 120 animal ambassadors and educators. Their motto here, rescue, educate, and conserve. Wild Wonders is a place where kids and adults can connect with animals from all over the world. Today we're going to be taking a behind-the-scenes tour, so join us. We're not exactly sure what we're going to be doing, but come along and enjoy the fun with us. What do you see up there, Harley? What do you see, a cheetah? Look at that. Oh my goodness. Wow. That's amazing.
So we're a pretty unique facility here. So one thing we're not is we're not a zoo. So we're a functional wildlife education and conservation center. So the animals here come from a wide variety of backgrounds. Some of them come from other facilities. Others were relinquished pets, and some even are failed rehabs from fish and wildlife that could not be released back to the wild. However, their backstories, they now have ended up here as our four-legged, no-legged, feathered, and furred creature teachers. Tommy came to us from Metro Richmond Zoo. He was actually pulled from his mother when he was a cub because he was what we called a singleton. So, and the reason they pulled him is because oftentimes a mother cheetah will abandon the cub or even outright kill it if they have a singleton. Because out in the wild, a cub has a very low chance of surviving. So if she has just one cub, most likely it's not going to survive, so it's not worth the effort for her to take care of.
Wow.
So he was pulled from his mother, and we partnered up with Yara to basically serve as his best buddy. And that way, because he didn't have any siblings to socialize with, it helps him to better socialize, and also it gives him some security by having her best friend, because cheetahs are scaredy cats. These guys are built for flight, not for fight.
They're best friends. They're best friends.
Oh, it's playtime.
They've been together their whole lives, Harley.
Stop right here. This is natural install. So these guys are South American Coatis. So these guys are actually a South American cousin of the raccoon. One big difference though, these guys are awake during the day, whereas raccoons are up during the night. And these guys actually live in large groups called bands of up to 20 individuals, but there will all be girls because the boys get kicked out when they're about 2 to 3 years old. The forest here is what we call a kinkajou.
Oh.
They also get the name honey bear, but that is not because they're related to bears. And these guys are actually a member of the raccoon family. And like raccoons, they are nocturnal. So you notice he has some big eyes and ears to help him hear and see well in the dark. But these guys actually get the name honey bear because they have the worst sweet tooth ever, worse than any child. And when these guys see a beehive out in the wild, they're going to rush on over, shove their face in that beehive, and lick up all that delicious honey with a tongue that's up to 5 inches long. That's nearly half the length of my foot.
Oh my goodness.
Look how cute is that, you guys.
What else is in a beehive besides honey?
What else, guys?
Bees, maybe?
Yes, exactly. But my friend Forrest here does not have to worry about those bees because his fur is so thick that the bee stinger cannot reach his skin.
Really?
So the only place where he might get stung is on the tips of his ears or his nose.
Oh.
Now, along with honey, another thing that's sweet in the rainforest of South America he's going to love to eat is fruit, which is exactly what he's eating right here. But he doesn't like all parts of the fruit, so he's going to hold on real tight to that delicious fruit because he's not going to want to travel down there to get it if he drops it. So he has an extra adaptation to help him deal with that, and that is he has a prehensile tail that he can use like a fifth limb, and that's going to help free up his hands so he can hold on extra tight. Forrest here is actually about 21 years old.
21 years old?
Yes, so in the wild, these guys live to be about 20, and in captivity, they've been known to live into their 30s. His dad is actually still here. He's 28 years old.
Oh, really?
Yes. Do I have any other questions?
So how did you, if his dad's here too, how did you guys acquire Forrest?
So he was a rescue from a backyard breeder.
Okay.
And so yeah, we actually have a couple of his siblings here as well.
Oh,
yes.
They just surrender them? Or?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of our animals, they sometimes it's fish and wildlife that contacts us. That's the case with, say, our alligators. People often keep them as illegal pets and they get confiscated, then they contact us. Or sometimes they contact us directly.
Okay.
What's it like, Eva?
Great job.
Is it soft? You said it was thick, right? Because the bees can't get it? What does it feel like, Harley?
It's a surprise.
These guys are one of my favorites.
Watch your step, okay?
Very few people know what they are when they see them.
Watch your step, baby.
See stairs are a bit uneven. This way. Yeah. So these guys also get the name bearcat, but that name's a bit misleading because they're not related to bears and they're not related to cats. These guys are actually a member of the civet family. They are actually the largest member of the civet family. Now that probably confuses you. So have any of you guys heard of a genet before?
No.
Okay, so you could kind of think about these guys as a mongoose on steroids that lives up in the trees. They're very closely related to the mongoose. But one of the coolest things I think about these guys is because they live up in the trees of Southeast Asia, they have very unique feet. So if you look at your ankles and try to twist it as far as you can, they can actually turn it further than that.
Really?
They can turn it completely around. That way if they're being chased by a predator, they can actually run down a tree head first. Or when you're going shopping, you can scan whatever you're shopping for by just looking at the barcode with the app, and it'll tell you if it has palm oil in it and if it has been sustainably grown. That way you can buy products that were grown responsibly with correct palm oil.
That's wonderful. That way we're not buying products that are contributing, girls and Harley, to cutting down those trees that these animals need.
So I like to call this our Disney corner because all of our possums have Disney names. And this here is Stitch.
Oh.
And Stitch is about 3 years old, which is actually quite old for an opossum. These guys usually only live about 1 to 2 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
They have
goodness.
very short lifespan. But because he's in captivity, he gets to live a little bit older, but usually these guys max out around 4 or 5 even in captivity. But they're pretty unique because they are United States only marsupial. So when they're born, only about the size of a jelly bean. And mom can have 19 at one time.
19,
They'll live in that pouch for a couple months. Then once they get too big, they'll actually crawl out to live on her back. And then once they're big enough to be on their own, they'll set off away from mom and take care of themselves. It's playing dead. That's actually not something they think about doing. Instead, they basically get really scared and stressed out, then they faint. They will stay like that for about 6 hours.
What's his fur feel like?
Here you go. Want to touch my friend's stitcher, buddy? Great job. And these guys are nature's garbage man. They will literally eat anything. We actually have our Bennett Wallabies. And one other little friend. I'll get to in a minute. So Bennett Wallabies, they're actually native to Eastern Australia. It's a very hot, dry environment, and they're the main prey over there. So these guys always looking out for predators, and if they see something like a dingo, they're going to take off, and they are incredibly fast. They can cover 6 feet in a single jump.
Wow.
And if a dingo does get too close, their main defense then will be to kick them, and they can rear back on their tail and kick with their hind legs, and they are incredibly strong. They're strong enough to break a human's leg with one kick. Now I want to bring you to this little guy. This here is Chewy. Chewy is our Patagonian tabby. These guys are actually the second largest rodent in South America. It's actually a cousin of the capybara, which is the largest rodent in the world. But these guys live in more drier grassland habitat in Argentina. So, like the wallabies, they can actually go long periods without food and water, and they get most of the water they need from the grasses that they eat. So this one appears to be Kiki. She's the youngest. Hi, Kiki!
Sweet.
Yeah, you got some nails there, huh?
This here is Tucker. And Tucker here is a laughing kookaburra. Now these guys are actually the largest member of the kingfisher family. And that is how she gets the name Laughing Kookaburra. That laugh is actually basically a territorial call, his like saying, hey, this is my tree branch, don't get too close or else I might peck you. Nitro.
Oh.
And Nitro is what we call an African pygmy hedgehog.
He's tiny.
So, first thing you'll probably notice is all these quills on his body. He has over 3,000 quills all over his body, but he doesn't have any on that face of his or his tummy. So what he's going to do to protect those parts, he's going to take his nose, touch his belly button, and roll it up into a ball of spikes. Now, do you think anyone's going to mess with him while he's all spiked up like that?
No.
You may not think so, but actually, lions and hyenas will still try to make a snack out of these guys. So they have another dirty trick up their sleeve. He's going to find the biggest, smelliest pile of elephant poop that he can. He's going to roll around all, get nice and dirty and stinky. That way, if a predator comes by, they'll be like, hey you, my lunch has gone bad. I'm going to get food somewhere else. Now, these guys are nocturnal, so you notice he has pretty big eyes and ears, and he's going to use those to look for all kinds of treats during the night.
So that's a full-grown.
Yes, he is full grown.
Wow.
He is a rescue, so we're not quite sure how old exactly he is. Let me go around. But we estimate he's around 2 or 3 years old. Ooh. But he is fully grown. Now for my next animal friend, I brought out Holly Jolly. Holly Jolly here is a dwarf hairy screaming armadillo. But my friend Holly has plenty of other ways to protect herself, like this armored shell of hers. She's going to have that as her protective covering. And this goes all the way from the tip of her nose to the end of her tail. Wow. This is actually made out of the same material as your fingernails, a protein called keratin. Now, if you guys would like to touch Miss Holly, just want to take 2 fingers. She is a screaming armadillo. That is because in the wild, if you were to pick one of these guys up, they would start to scream.
They will actually start screaming.
Yes. Only reason Holly doesn't is because she's an ambassador animal, so she's been hand raised. So she.
G'day, mate.
It's definitely curious, huh? When it goes away.
Going back and forth.
He knows it's not polite to laugh at people to their face.
It's funny how it goes back and forth.
Oh, you're back again.
I know.
We call it Egyptian uromastyx. So these guys, as you may guess from the name, are from Egypt. They also can be found in parts of the Middle East. And over there, it can get to be 120 degrees Fahrenheit. So as you might have guessed, there's not much water over there. So he can actually go his entire life without drinking any water. What? He gets all the water he needs from the plants that he eats. He may look a bit chunky, but that is actually kind of deceptive because his ribs only go to about here. The rest of this is loose skin. So when he feels threatened by a predator, the first thing he's going to do is going to run to his burrows. But if the predator is still chasing after him, what he's going to do is suck in a bunch of air, and all this loose skin is going to fill up with air to make him look much bigger, and hopefully that'll scare whatever's trying to attack him. But if that doesn't work, his last line of defense is this tail right here. So he's going to swing that back and forth really quick, kind of like a club. And when it hits, it's going to hurt, and they're definitely not going to want to make a snack out of him after that. Great job. My friend Legless.
Legless.
Now, what do you think Legless here is? Yes, that is exactly right. Legless is a European legless lizard. These guys are also known as European glass lizards because they can actually drop their tail. And they kind of resembles like how glass breaks, and that's how they got that name. But I'll show you how you can tell he's a lizard and not a snake. So, first off, you'll see this line along his body. We call that the lateral line. And that is actually marks where his body ends and where his tail begins. So if he was a snake, his tail would actually start around here.
Wow.
Snakes have very short tails, whereas lizards have very long tails. Also, if you look at the sides of his head, he has 2 little holes. Those are actually his ears.
Oh, they are.
You will not see that on a snake. Snake ears are actually covered by scales. And every now and then you'll notice he will blink. Because he has eyelids, whereas snakes cannot blink. They don't have eyelids. Instead, they have what we call an eye cap, which is basically a see-through scale that covers their eye. You'll also notice he sticks out his tongue. It's much thicker and more fleshy, kind of like ours. And snakes have a much thinner, more forked tongue than
they do?
Oh. Yes. And you'll notice he's kind of awkward. I have to support his whole body. He cannot coil around me like a snake can. So when he strikes his prey, he's actually going to bite it and shake his head back and forth.
Oh.
He cannot constrict like a snake can. He also doesn't have a quadrate bone, so he can't swallow very large prey like a snake can. But he can, so he's limited to eating food that's about the size of his head. But because of that lateral line, it allows his stomach to expand. And so, even though he can't eat very large prey, he is able to eat a lot of food at one time, and his stomach will expand. Now, if you guys would like to touch E.T., just take 2 fingers right along his back, okay?
You like that, Harley?
Snake.
Does it feel like a snake? Or does it feel like a lizard?
Well, I never touched a lizard.
Oh my goodness, I'm afraid of snakes and lizards. It's hard for me.
Great job. Now, do you guys have any questions about my friend?
We got some artwork, some jewelry. Is this from the cheetah, I wonder?
Dog.
You think so? Or the dog?
I don't know.
That's neat, right?
Much.
you.
There you guys
Can you
go.
hold that?
Yeah.
Those are your cheetah
Don't
prints.
drop
You have a souvenir. This is such a wonderful opportunity for children to come and learn about animal conservation. That's one of the reasons we brought our kids here. So I highly recommend you checking this out. So we just finished our private tour. We had so much fun here at Wild Wonders. What was your favorite, Harley?
Legless
What
lizard.
about you, Lucy?
Mine was the cheetah.
Eva?
Mine was the possum.
This is such a fun place to come out. They do school tours, they do private tours, they do events, even some summer camps and spring break camps. So come check out and support Wild Wonders here in Bonsall, California. Thank you so much for having us.